Steady now.
In the history of monster trucks, none are perhaps as significant as Bigfoot. Bob Chandler's modified Ford, dubbed the original monster truck for being a pioneer, was the first to crush cars, and thus gained immense popularity in the 1980s. Thus ensued multiple cameos in films, its own animated show, and, of course, video games. Some 30 years after its heyday, Nintendo DS owners would be treated to Bigfoot Collision Course, putting you in the driver's seat of a handful of monster trucks, including the iconic namesake, and letting you race while destroying objects in sight. A competent game could have offered some mindless yet explosive fun, though needless to say, Collision Course proves almost the exact opposite of that. Something feels amiss once you load up your first race and the racers drop spawn onto the track. There's a deep sense of floatiness to the proceedings, with light physics which see your truck lifting off its front wheels just from hitting gas at the start. Handling is incredibly stiff, making turning awkward, and only sharp braking really aids steering. There's also the aspect of driving into obstacles, which in turn reward boost which sends you speeding ahead once full. It's a good idea in theory, and being able to smash cars, snowmen, and even cabins is weirdly satisfying. The trouble is, off-collision detection can see you miss certain objects or, worse, cause you to come to a standstill. Getting caught on certain objects, such as tree stumps or environmental walls, sees your monster grind to a halt and require awkward manoeuvring to drive again, lest you simply just drive into the same object again. You'd think these ailments would make races difficult, but actually, beating Bigfoot Collision Course is a breeze. Sleepy AI sees opponents fall behind and fail to catch up unless you really get caught on one of those aforementioned objects. Track design is incredibly basic, with only a trio of environmental styles: desert, forest, and snow, and mostly circular paths, which soon become a bore. So long as you collect boost and avoid crashing to the best of your ability, most races can be cleared on the first attempt. New trucks unlock with each win, offering different stats, but earlier vehicles force you to either suffer woeful steering or ponderous speed. Collision Course offers some of the most unpolished and blandest racing the system would see. No mean feat considering the amount of shovelware the DS houses. Luckily for the masochistic who dare to try this, most will be lucky to scrape 2 hours out of this experience. There are 3 modes: quick race, practice, and career. There's no multiplayer at all, a bit of a sin considering it's a racing game. In all, there are 8 courses to beat, with a special 9th track rewarded at the end of career. The amateur and pro classes play almost identically, except your truck specs are higher on the latter, though dumb AI persists and you're racing on the same bland tracks in both brackets. Other than single events in quick race, practice lets you test out tracks without any opponents, but considering most players could likely beat every race on their first go, this seems redundant. To say this Bigfoot game represents bad value would be an understatement. There are likely free Flash games that last longer than this one. It doesn't help that the presentation is woeful. Visually, the game is grainier than a bag of sand, with poor texture work and lackluster geometry looking closer to a bad PlayStation 1 game. Even the stars of the show, the monster trucks, look bad. There's also a lot of stuttering, as while this game's performance aims high, a lot of moments can see jittering and drops in speed. The trucks struggle to break 100 miles per hour as is, so this issue only worsens the lack of momentum. The sound is perhaps even worse. The engine notes are genuinely terrible, resembling a used lawnmower and fading out when you gain speed. If you happen to let go of the throttle, then press it down again, the engine sounds roar loudly before fading out, which is kinda funny. Less amusing is the music, a painful assortment of generic tracks trying to fit each theme. The guitar riff, which plays in the menu, in particular, is woeful. Ultimately, it's almost impossible to recommend Bigfoot Collision Course. A painful racer which somehow manages to be poorly constructed, yet incredibly easy, it's clear little time or effort was put into this one. Woeful physics, rigid handling, and a dire presentation make for a bad time already. But when you factor in that you could likely clear this one in less time than 2 hours, then it becomes borderline insulting. Despite offering some destructive objects to smash, it's not enough to save you from boredom. Even die-hard supporters of Bigfoot and monster trucks will have a hard time enjoying this one.